Join Scotty G Thursday from noon to 3 at Minky Couture in Layton. The best blanket ever is also the best Valentine's gift ever. Minky Couture. DJ PK, and we're joined once again by Andy Bailey. We'd love to have him in and talk NBA basketball. Andy, good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys?
We're doing well. You are right in our wheelhouse right now. You're the right guy at the right time. Got a question up this morning on social media. Now that you've seen a couple games, what's your evaluation of the Jazz trade deadline moves? Andy?
I like it. I think it's kind of funny that everyone's up in arms about Jaren Jackson Jr. not playing fourth quarters so far. This is the world that we live in with the NBA, and clearly Utah needs to lose games to add another foundational talent. But I do like the core that's in place, whether they add somebody to it or not, whether they add like a Cam Boozer or a DeBance or a Peterson, whatever. Markkanen and Jackson, I think, fit together very well. I think Markkanen's quick enough to play some three when Walker Kessler gets back next season. I was truly not expecting sort of a win now move at the deadline for Utah, so that was a surprise to me. And I guess we can maybe they're in this group of deals that's not technically win now, because I think they're all kind of expecting to win next year, like the Pacers with Zubats and Utah with Triple J and the Wizards with Davis. Kind of a long-winded way for me to say I like it. I think those guys can fit together, but I also understand what they're doing. I see why they need to keep losing.
Be honest, Andy. When you heard this winter that we were still doing the show, you were surprised, weren't you?
Why would I be surprised? I think something just went over my head.
Because we've been doing this for so long.
No, you guys are going to go beyond me. I'm well prepared for that.
Okay, good. As long as you know. And the good thing is that we will talk to you in better times because, obviously we want locals to win. It's good for the show and business and all that stuff. And it's been 4 years they won't make the playoffs. That's a long dry spell, right? So with that in mind, go ahead.
Especially for Utah.
Yeah, exactly.
Because for so long they were a staple of the playoffs. And,
right.
Years ago I covered the Jazz specifically, and I was less of a national guy. And one of my favorite stats was just win percentage over the course of like 25, 30 years. And Utah was always top 2 or 3 in that number. They were just always consistently good. And ripping the Band-Aid off on a rebuild with those Mitchell and Gobert trades, I think everybody understood why it was done. But for a team and a fan base that had grown so accustomed to being competitive, 4 or 5 years without it is a pretty long time.
Yeah, it really is. And we're expecting, obviously, the tank is over with the trade of Jackson Jr. You don't do that with the intent to continue to lose. That would be counterproductive, obviously. And so the big question is, what are they going to be next year? Now, it's like one of these top 25s that come out the day after the national title game in college football, but we all do it and we all look at it and it's fun to do. So with that in mind, I ask you, what do you think the projection would be for them in terms of what they can do to compete next year? Are they a playoff team? No, whatever it might be. What do you think? And realizing that I can't hold, we're not holding you to anything.
Right. And it's extra tricky in the Western Conference just because every year for the last 25 or 30, it's been really tough to get into the playoffs. But I do think if they have, and these are numbers that I think extend back at least the last 2 or 3 years. When Walker Kessler and Lauri Markkanen play together, they've typically been pretty good, if not very good. And now Keontae George, I think, is a lot better than he was 2 or 3 years ago. And so if you have that Markkanen-Kessler foundation, you add Triple J, you add the still developing Keontae George, and maybe you do get somebody like Boozer, DeBanza, who may not be ready to contribute right away, but I think could certainly help at least a little bit. I think you can at least compete for a play-in spot, and that might sound kind of rough. Again, for a team and a fan base that was so used to winning for so long. But in the Western Conference, it's just kind of difficult to project much more than that. There's just so many good teams every single year. And even if Utah is, 44-38 or whatever next season, that's probably 8th, 9th, 10th, somewhere like that. But at least fans will have a chance to watch like meaningful basketball games again. And I think a lot of the fan base is probably hungry for that.
Well, they're definitely hungry for that. I also think they're hungry for, playoff success. And since Stockton and Malone, Stockton retired, Malone went to L.A., and he retired a year later, they've missed the playoffs 12 times and qualified 11. And since Sloan retired, they've missed 8 and qualified 7. And there's only one Western Conference final in that whole stretch, and that's way back in 2007. So, if 20 years is a generation, and maybe some people would say it's 25 or 30, but if we say 20 years is a generation, well, this is year 19. So
right.
I like the move too, but you didn't say you love the move. And I think the difference in there, the wiggle room is, as good as Jaren Jackson Jr. is, he's getting $50 million. Now,
yeah.
Markkanen's in the same neighborhood. Markkanen's maybe a mil or two short, but he's right there, and he will get to 50. So they've got to sign Kessler this summer, and there's a gap. At least there was. Maybe that gap's been closed. Maybe it's going to come down to he's restricted, and they'll just have to either match or not match whatever he comes in with. A year later, they got to sign Keontae. Do you think it's all coming together and they could be back in a conference final? Can you see that in this, say, next 3-year window where everybody signed? Because after that, the whole thing could turn upside down. I mean, everybody will hit free agency. Who knows what will happen? Team building isn't a 5 or 7 year thing anymore.
No, stuff turns over pretty rapidly
it can.
In the NBA these days. And I think the distinction that you made between like and love is fair, because I probably would not say that I love it, because Jaren Jackson Jr. is a great player. I don't know if he's like a franchise cornerstone. I guess he technically was for a pretty good Memphis team for a long time, but he's not the kind of guy who I think will push you to a conference finals. Now, maybe George or Markkanen is, but in such a tight window, when teams like the Thunder are still around and their guys are under contract for the next 3 or 4 years, and I think Jokic probably has a few really good years left, the Spurs are ahead of schedule somehow. I think they kind of upend the Western Conference hierarchy a little bit. So I would be pretty hesitant to say confidently that they can get to a conference finals. But like I just said, things change rapidly.
They do. Yeah.
Maybe Keontae George is not done. Like we saw a leap from him this season, and maybe there's another one next season. That's not out of the question. And that's kind of what made Utah a lot better than people expected the last time they had a good team, was Donovan Mitchell just kind of shot out of a cannon. It's taken Keontae George a little bit longer to hit his stride, but there's still room for improvement with him. Maybe they add 1 or 2 other guys this offseason, and I could see them being competitive if things – maybe they're – here's how I'll answer it. If there are things that break right, potential conference finalists within the next 3 years. There's a lot of caveats built into that sentence, but I think that's just kind of how you have to look at the Western Conference.
Why do you think the Jazz have become the whipping boy with tanking now? It seems like they're taking all sorts of abuse when so many others have done it, and done it to the benefit and literally helped them win titles.
That's a great question, and it's one I would like an answer for as well. I guess optically, it looks a little different what they've done the last couple games than maybe some other teams I can think of off the top of my head. Like playing your guys for 3 quarters and then sitting them for the entire fourth is maybe a little different than what some teams have done. But Utah is far from the only team that's tried to take advantage of tanking over the last few years. And we just saw multiple teams richly rewarded by it over the last few years. The Spurs get Wembanyama, the Thunder load up their roster the way they did. The Spurs' whole dynasty 25 years ago, or 30 years ago at this point, started because of a tank or a gap year. This has been around for a long, long time, and I can't even begin to blame Utah for what they're doing, because I think they did the right thing when they traded Gobert and Mitchell. I do think that partnership had probably reached its peak, and they have chased lottery odds basically since then, and they just haven't been rewarded. And I understand chasing until you get the reward. I mean, how many, you guys probably know this better than I do, how many of these years have they actually moved down in the draft? Last year.
Never once.
Never once. They've never once
penalized.
They've never once
They're
moved.
against us, Andy. Let's call it like it is. You're a lawyer. You believe in conspiracy.
It's hard not to when I watch the NBA as much as I do. I'll put it that way. Yeah, so it's ridiculous, frankly. I think the national reaction to what Utah is doing, because the other thing that I haven't mentioned too is if you're a small market in the NBA, there really aren't any other avenues for team building. Like, this is it. This is how you have to do it. So I don't blame them one bit, and I frankly find a lot of the national reaction to it silly and stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm intrigued that you think so much of the Western Conference, and I certainly agree. The history says it's really good, and it's certainly way better than the East. We're seeing that as the Jazz, with whatever partial lineups they run out there, look really good against Atlanta and Miami, and pretty good against Orlando for that matter too, who are sitting 7, 8, 9 in the East. And the Jazz aren't even really trying to win right now. And next year, I'm thinking Sacramento, New Orleans, and Memphis are going to be worse than the Jazz, those three. But I can see the Jazz catching Dallas and Portland, and I'm not clear with the Clippers, Warriors, and Lakers how much they're going to go to a rebuild. Now, the Lakers have Doncic, so they can only go so far down. But they're a team that could be vulnerable to one injury because their roster seems to be so top-heavy. I'm not completely convinced what direction the Timberwolves are going at this point. So when I hear people talk top six, I know there's no way it's a lock. Let's get all the way through the summer and see what roster moves. But it's like I can't completely rule it out right now. I didn't hear that level of optimism in your voice.
Well, I think the way that you framed it is probably accurate, to say that you can't rule out top six. And maybe a better way for me to frame the Western Conference is there's going to be 2 or 3, maybe 4 teams that they just probably can't catch. That would be the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Spurs. I may be missing one at this point.
Rockets, maybe?
Yeah, maybe the Rockets, but they've been a little bit worse than I thought they would be this season. So maybe they're kind of in this next group, or the last group. I'll save this group for last. Then you mentioned some teams that I think are definitely going to be bad next season. And I think it's fair to expect Utah to be able to leapfrog them. And I think this is true in both conferences, there's kind of a morass in the middle. And the Western Conference morass is always better than the Eastern Conference, or at least I would say like 9 out of 10 years is kind of how often that happens. And so it's just kind of I would say it'll be more difficult for Utah to climb through that bunch of teams and finish in the top 6, obviously, than it would have been in the East. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking there, but there's always a big chunk of teams in the middle, or at least it seems that way to me. And I think Utah can be in that chunk. Getting above it, maybe we need to see what happens this summer, but I think they can at least be in that big chunk.
I just think the Jazz might be able to do what the Suns did. I mean, the Suns, with
for sure,
not
Good
nearly
point.
as obvious as what the Jazz have going, they're 7th in the West now, and they're 2 games out of 4th.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And that was a team that I thought was tanking.
I know, right? You're not alone.
And so simply playing hard can go a long way. So maybe it's a little easier to turn the page than I'm thinking, because there are examples like the Suns here and there.
Yeah. Well, Andy, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you, especially as things heat up with the draft and free agency and the playoffs as well. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it, guys.
There's Andy Bailey talking all things NFL, longtime NFL writer and reporter, or NBA writer and reporter. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up next, everything you missed in this show. We got 2 big stories, a couple other interesting things going on, but 2 big stories to talk about. Stay with us.
Love is in the air. And the Zone is ready to help you become a Valentine's Day MVP. Listen to 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, and online at KSLSports.com for your chance to win 2 Grande Minky Couture blankets. Keep it locked on the KSL Sports Zone and be Valentine's MVP. Presented by Minky Couture on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. The Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800 or visit the website at TrajanWealth.com. The main stories this morning, 2 of them. One of them BYU basketball, the other Jazz basketball. There's some other interesting things going on. There are multiple suspensions coming in the NBA. And there are also... there was also an upset in college basketball. Number 1, Arizona went down. They're no longer undefeated, and they're about to play 4 ranked teams in a row. This is the first in that stretch, so we'll see if they get another loss. Certainly the game at Houston is intriguing. We'll see how they handle that, but they got a couple of home games that could be tough too. So there's that. But college basketball, the main story right now isn't about that because Arizona's probably going to be a 1 seed no matter what happens here. They're pretty good and pretty much set up. But what's going to happen with BYU? Losers of 4 in a row, 5 of the last 6. We are approaching tonight's 5 o'clock tip-off at Baylor, ESPN2. With slightly different attitudes here, PK. I am thinking they are going to beat this 3-8 Baylor team. However, you have noticed that despite their record, Baylor's played a lot of people close. They played a tough schedule. And we just had Ken Pomeroy on, who's always good talking college basketball and that. And he's got Baylor. They probably wouldn't make the tournament now, but he's also not ruling it out. They're at 44, despite their not glossy 13-10 or 13-11 record. Tough schedule, so they're way up there. So you are more of the opinion, hey, this is anything could happen tonight. Tell me how well you shoot the 3. Tell me who gets in early foul trouble and has to sit for 10 or 15 minutes, and really anything might happen. Yeah, and you have Coach Drew there talking about how they basically signed Rob Wright to a contract, and he broke it. Yep. So maybe there's a little vengeance kind of thing, payback, people a little focused. I'd imagine that the students aren't going to be happy with him. Yeah, the fan base could get on him for sure. Yeah. So that adds to it, and refs like to be cheered, not booed. So we'll have to see how that plays. The thought of 5 in a row and 6 out of 7. I mean, I don't want it to happen. I'll be rooting for him to win, but I just don't know. Yeah, one thing Ken Pomeroy said when he was on, he was very complimentary of Utah State. They're 26th in his rankings. BYU has dropped down to 22 now. He'd had them up around 14, 15, kind of in that ballpark, but they're down to 22 with all these losses. And he said, with 8 games to go, people say locks because you assume that these teams are going to win, 5 out of 8 or whatever, and even if they slip, they'll still be in. So literally, if the wheels truly come off, you can still play yourself all the way out of this thing. Yeah, I don't think they will. No, I don't. I definitely don't think they will with Utah State, although they are hitting a tough Utah stretch State? In the schedule. No, and I don't think they're cemented. It doesn't. I think their schedule doesn't matter. I think BYU is going to beat Baylor tonight, but we'll see. Beat them and end the streak. The Mountain West always gets multiple bids, and right now it looks like San Diego State and Utah State. Yeah. So. New Mexico has faded. They were in a good spot, but they are fading. They have by 20 at home. They're done. They're toast. I know. Utah State pummeled them. Yeah. Absolutely took them apart. Right. And then they went out and suffered another loss right after that. They did. So they've gone back-to-back L's here. So it almost doesn't matter what they do. Yeah. They can go 500, and they'll get in. They could change the way they schedule in the non-conference, but they don't. All the home games and rarely challenged. So it always makes it hard for New Mexico. But anyway. Oh, you're speaking of New Mexico. Yeah, I'm talking about Utah State. No. I think they're that in. Yes. They're in. Both teams. San Diego State has a rep. Yep. They're in. Mm-hmm. I think Dutcher said he's retiring, so they're not going to leave him out. And they played Arizona and Michigan early, trying to pump up their numbers. They got drilled, but you still get rewarded for losing those teams, so they went and played them. It's a crazy system, but it's the system. So, and I think BYU will be fine when it comes to the NCAA tournament. But it's not about getting in. That's no, it's not. It's where you're going to be seated. They're not rewarding Mark Pope in Kentucky for getting in. No, they're not. And now with BYU, they expect it's the same thing right now. The money's gone to the point that now you're a team that's expected to get in, be well seated. They're paying big money. They're charging big money to go to their games. And then advance. Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four. What are you going to do? And I don't really want to hear about the first week. That needs to be W's. I've gone a couple of games. They charge me $50 a piece. Jeez. No.
I tell you, man.
You went on the press pass and you went for free.
Nothing's for free in life, man.
Well, you had to fight with the traffic. I'll give you that.
I had to use my gas,
There it is.
my wheels, my brake pads,
Nice.
my alternator. Come on. All sorts of stuff. And I'll go to more games. And I think I think to me it's split down the middle. I'm on the fence on this game.
DeBonson needs to rebound better. That was brought up in the conference call and the post-game. Rebounds have been on the mind of the BYU coaching staff, and Kevin Young has talked about it. And DeBonson's averaging 4 rebounds a game in these losses. He's averaging a little over 6 on the year. He's had 8 or 9 in some of their better wins. They need more possessions in these close games.
They want to talk about the loss, and he did say it. Kevin Young went to Pickens and Baker, and he also said the Kozlowski kid, and I'm glad he brought up his name because the kid can shoot. I saw him play for 3 years in high school, and he can shoot. But I actually think the biggest loss is Dallin Hall not coming back. They don't have a point guard. Wright had 1 assist the other night.
Yeah. Wright's looking to get into the paint and score.
He's looking to shoot.
Yeah. Get in the paint and score.
They need somebody who can facilitate the offense. And to me, he would be starting. I understand what he was doing.
Hall and Wright together, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand what his thinking was. Hey, you're bringing in this guy. You brought in another dude. My senior year, I don't want to sit the bench. I want to play as many minutes as I possibly could. But I think if he had stayed at BYU, he'd be playing as many minutes as he possibly could. I think that's the biggest loss off of last year's team.
And when you name all those guys, suddenly the whole depth issue becomes not nearly as big of a deal. And now it's a big deal.
Yeah.
There's only 3 guys who can score. Where are the guys who can get you 7, 8, 10 points a game?
And Hall's a tough-minded kid.
And would have found a way in some of these games. Something would have gone better.
Right. He can get in there and mix it up.
Maybe Kansas or Texas Tech, certainly Oklahoma State, and they could have pulled out 1 or 2 of these games.
I'm not assigning blame on anybody for his leaving. I'm just saying his loss, I think, is more significant under the circumstances than we realized and realize.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's all hindsight. But it's like if you could plug those 3 or 4 players in, the depth issue is no longer a deal. The ability to get a few buckets here and there from other guys.
But even with the depth, I still think the loss of Hall.
Yeah.
Assuming the other guys didn't get hurt.
If you want to put him at the top of the 4 as the most important loss, I get why you're doing that.
And you could say Chiori in the low block. I get that. But Hall could have really helped them this year. But he's not there, and they're going to have to overcome it. And
it's just a lesson on how to put together teams going forward. And they're going to have to do it again next year.
Yeah, they're going to have to constantly do it,
right.
Especially when he's getting these kids that have zero tie to BYU. If it's not going well, they're out.
Right.
Look at the one freshman. What was his name? Catchings. And he couldn't wait to get out the door.
Yeah, Catchings had found himself sideways by midseason.
Right.
But I mean, if he had been a BYU guy,
sure, it'd be different.
Maybe he would have stuck around, and maybe he would have developed. Maybe not. I don't know.
The Utah Jazz. You've seen a couple games now since the trade. Evaluate that. We've had people on doing that. We've had Andy Bailey on. Where's this team going? Certainly there are big decisions to be made by the Jazz. You know, what's going to happen with Kessler this summer? How much money is he going to get to stay? Is there a chance he could leave? I suppose there's a chance. I think it's more likely he stays. But at what number and how much room does that leave to sign Keontae George in another year? Where can this go over the next 3 years? Specifically, can they be top 6, 7, or 8 next year? And so we went round and round with him on that. That was interesting. So you can go listen to that wherever you get your podcast. You can listen to Ken Pomeroy. And you can listen to the entire show every hour, but especially Andy Bailey and Ken Pomeroy.
Jaren Jackson is the most significant player added to the Jazz since Darren Williams. It's the most significant trade since Jeff Hornacek. You can debate all you want, and you'd be wrong.
So does the Darren Williams, the trade to move up to get D. Will count as a most significant trade? You said player added.
But him coming onto the team.
Yeah.
So I wanted to have 2 under that. I see what you're doing, but I want 2.
Okay, you want 2 separate categories.
Yeah.
Even if one of them kind of overlaps.
Now, you can argue Mitchell.
Okur came as a free agent. Mitchell came as a draft pick.
But they're all acquisitions.
Okay, but you were talking the biggest draft. I was thinking a trade since Hornacek, which was a massive deal. I mean, we knew it that day, and certainly everything that happened over the next 5, 6, 7 years underscored that we were right that day.
I mean, you could go Mitchell. I get it. But he wanted out.
Yeah.
It became a drag.
And there was no conference final there. As much as you love the regular season success and the 1 seed, and it's exciting times, you want the postseason
But I'm
payoff.
not going to dump on him as the reason they didn't get there.
But nonetheless, none of that added. The whole rebuild, the whole decade, is 4 years of rebuild, 6 years of playoffs, but
sometimes
you want to get there.
It's not their fault in terms of, the Jazz didn't get to the finals in the 80s. Well, the Lakers were there. It wasn't the fault of the Jazz. The Lakers were there. But that Mitchell group, that was the fault of them.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for losing to the Clippers.
The 1 seed and the Clippers and Kawhi's out. It was just all right there for the taking.
Yeah. No excuse.
And
every single one of them deserves blame.
If there'd been some more patience among the top players, maybe they give it another shot.
Right.
But they're super expensive. They're not getting along. It made it easier to make the trades and start over again.
Yeah, the 14th time you told me that they were getting along, that's
probably not happening.
Yeah, because it speaks for itself. Like, I never tell people, Yak and DJ get along. Because it's known that it doesn't really work. I have to keep you guys apart. And
There's a reason why there's glass between us.
Yeah. And,
looks like a Hornets-Pistons game if
I know DJ wants to break glass, but I won't let him.
Are you Diabate? Is that what we're...
It's funny. I just saw another angle of that, and it's wider. It's handheld camera up in the stands. Phoenix Suns 20 years ago. If the NBA is going to be consistent, a lot of guys are going to get
Isaiah
suspended.
Stewart's getting
not just the 4 guys who threw punches. There were multiple guys across the line. Some 1 step, some 2 steps. Yes. And it's way worse. You can see people, because when the tighter camera on the game, you can see what's going on right where it's pointed. And what you don't know is 40 feet away, there's some dude running 60 feet.
Yeah, well,
so he can throw
Isaiah
punches.
Stewart came off the bench and threw a punch. He's going to face multiple.
Got to. Yeah. Yeah, if they're going to be consistent with what they've done in the past, then
a lot of guys sitting out.
Yeah, I don't know what it'll be. There's got to be more angles that I haven't seen, and so whether it ends up being 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't know what to tell you, but it's got to be more than 4 for sure. All right, DJ and PK. Anything else you want to talk about, PK? Anything else going on? Spring training, pitchers and catchers reporting in Florida and Arizona today. Go home and watch your baseball highlights. Guys playing pepper. Oh, there'll be video people playing pepper.
No, they fake the throw to home and then run over and cover first.
Nice.
And somebody hits a fungo.
And somebody will be throwing the ball. They'll have something like a strike zone stapled to the wall, some kind of like a mat or something. And, those are your
it's
baseball
good to be
highlights.
back, man.
That means spring is coming, even if we haven't been shoveling snow here every week. DJ and PK, we got Jazz tickets to give away. You want to do that now, Yak? Yep. All right, Jazz tickets. Win a pair of tickets right now to watch the Jazz and the Blazers Thursday night at the Delta Center. Call 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. Caller 12 right now. See the Jazz and the Blazers Thursday night, the last game before the All-Star break. Call right now, right here on the KSL Sports Zone. DJ and PK, it's time for your feedback. Question of the morning. Now that you've seen a couple of games, what's your evaluation of the Jazz trade deadline moves? Matt says once JJ and the team get used to each other and they know all the spots, all the plays, it's just going to get better and better.
Good times ahead.
Matt is ready. Sean, one player has shifted the team's defensive efficiency by light years.
Yeah, I still think they need a Kessler, though.
How good do you think they can be defensively? I mean, the 30th now, there's nowhere to go but up, and they're clearly going to go up. But 20th?
Well, yeah, but if they expand 10th? By 2, they could actually go down.
They're not going to expand for next year, but thanks for bringing that up, just to muddy the waters.
It remains to be seen, what do you need as far as the defensive proficiency if you are a prolific offensive team, and so maybe you won't need as much. And defense would be, does it just need to be adequate, or does it need to be great? Does it need to be top 5? Too much unknown right now, and I don't know what they're going to do with Kessler and what they're going to do at that position. So I had a much better idea to be able to answer that in August than right now, assuming, once we get past July, all the deals are done, the rosters are set and all that, except for, may add a couple guys to practice and then won't make the team and all that. But you want to be top 10, obviously. That would be a massive jump. My instinct says no, but Jackson will never play with Kessler until next year.
So let's see when we get there.
So I won't
Yeah.
have any body of evidence. It will be brand new.
Yeah, it'll
game
be brand
one.
Yep. H.I. McDonough at SF Giants fan. I think they have the playoff pieces now. I still think they need an alpha to take the next step. Can someone on this team step up and be the alpha? Be one of the top 10 or top 5 players in the league? Because they don't have that.
No.
They've now got multiple guys that you could project as top 50 players.
Yes.
But 2 of them for sure, but I think arguably they could have a third or a fourth here pretty quickly.
Yes. And how far can that take you?
Right.
That can make you extremely competitive. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And I think that can make you extremely competitive in the postseason, too.
But if one of these guys makes the jump to if not all NBA first team, all NBA second team.
Well, I think it has to be there would be 3 possibilities because Jackson and Marketing have been around for enough to where they've settled in, and they're very good.
But they're not top 10.
So is it?
Yeah.
Can George get there? I wouldn't think so. Can Bailey get there? Remains to be seen. Wouldn't bet on it, but I'm not going to say absolutely no. And then the draft pick.
All very logical from you. You don't really do the logic thing. You don't like to do that. That was a very logical
You're
breakdown.
asking me to predict stuff.
Yeah. Well, we all wonder where this is going because we got to get through these next, I don't know, what is it, 30 games?
I think it might be 29 now.
29 now.
But, I think it'll go well.
28 now.
It'll go well.
Yeah.
And where will it go postseason? Matchups factor into it and all that type of stuff. Let's just get there first. I am willing to bide my time rather than make all these outrageous predictions.
The anticipation, though, PK.
But I want to, and I have anticipation for 26, 27.
Yep.
But I don't have the final result because
we got to go through the draft. We got to go through free agency and trades, see what other people in the West do. Yes.
Who's to say that they can't build? So they win 47 games in next season. And then they win 51-52.
Yep.
And where are you at that point? And you've obviously added and complemented your roster.
Right. Well, we talk about the big jump in the third year, and to your point, 28 will be Ace Bailey's third year. And obviously, whatever they do in the draft, that'll be that player's second year.
And the better the team, the better the role player can make contributions. Antoine Carr will be a legend around here. Mm-hmm. But if he was playing for a crappy team, it wouldn't have mattered near as much.
I know because I worked in Sacramento when he was a big player on a crappy team.
He scored 20-some a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what he did, and he had the personality that drew you into him
no
also.
Doubt. But he embraced his role as a role player.
Yeah.
And he performed it very well.
Right.
And he knew when he ran onto the court, I'm going to go against the other team's backup power forward, and I'm going to crush that guy. I'm going to destroy that guy.
So the point I'm making is they can add some role guys who, because of the quality of the team, will actually be more important than their individual talent.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. State of Salt says, hang the banner, DJ. Hang the banner. He is all on board.
Playing,
division title, what
banner? What banner are we hanging?
Banner. He does not specify that. SOS State
Lakers
of Salt.
Lakers only hang one banner.
Yep. The Knicks didn't hang the NBA Cup banner this year. That was a big deal.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. Well, for people in New York.
Nor should they have.
Right. Yeah.
Ben Stiller was up in arms? Again?
Spike Lee.
Spike Lee was up in arms. DJ PK, we're all done. Jake and Ben are coming up next.